What's up, guys? So we are back with another video. Today should be a pretty interesting one. I got someone who actually reached out to me and kind of wants to do an interview about a couple of their cars, why they decided to get their cars, how they went about it, what the cars mean to them. So we're gonna head over and meet up with that person right now, and then I'll check back in with you guys when we get there. Alright, so we just got to the person's house. I'm just waiting for them to get here. Once he gets here, I'm gonna have him introduce himself, and then we'll kind of do the little interview. I'll get some shots of his cars. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated, and I'll see you when he gets here. Okay, so this is the Range Rover we're working with today. It's my buddy's Range Rover. Absolutely beautiful. Black paint job, which I think looks absolutely killer on this car. Nice wheels on it as well. Now, I'm gonna have him come outside in a couple of minutes to kind of give an interview of why he chose this car, what he likes about it, what he may not like about it. Because I know at this price range, you could go with, BMW, you could go with any other luxury car brand. But Range Rover is certainly an option when you have wealth like he does. He's a fairly young guy. Let's check out this interior. Absolutely killer interior. Absolutely love it. I'm a sucker for tan interiors, so I especially really like that one. And then, yeah, I'll bring him out in just a second, and we'll talk about why he chose this car, how he went about, being able to afford this car, what his plans may be for another car if he decides to get rid of this. This is the owner of the beautiful Range Rover. I'm gonna have him introduce yourself, so why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Omar. I'm the owner of this Range Rover. It's a 2018 Range Rover Sport. It's supercharged, which is V8. Beautiful car. It's a great car. It served me very well. Transports me and my family around in a very comfortable way. I've really enjoyed this car since I've gotten it. I don't have much of a history with Land Rover. I only had one Land Rover before this. It's that LR4 over there that's on the street. Funny story about that. The day we got that, I literally, my wife was really happy about it, so I traded in my 5 Series BMW, and we got into that one. We had it for like a year or two before, I made the decision to, take a step up into the Range Rover Sport, and it was a good decision. I mean, I've had this for about 2 years now. It's not had a problem. It's incredibly reliable. It's very smooth on the road, which is important for anyone who has kids. If you want your kids to go to sleep, you just want a nice kind of droning ambient kind of sound, and it knocks them right out. We literally will put them in the car just to knock them out. I mean, it's kind of like NyQuil. So it's got a lot of value above and beyond just being a beautiful car.
Yeah, so like I was telling them, at this price range, you could go with a nice BMW, like let's say X5, X6, X3, X4, etc. You could go with a Lexus SUV. You could go with a bunch of other higher end SUVs. So what drew you to the Range Rover Sport?
I love BMW. So I started with BMW. I've been driving BMW since I first learned how to drive. I had a 318 IS, a 91 318 IS. That was a beautiful, nimble little car with stick. And then I never had a 3 Series. I had two 5 Series. I had a 530i, which was like a 2003 530i. And then I had a 2011 535xi, which was my favorite car. The 5 Series fits me like a glove. I'm a little bit tall. 3 Series, I always felt a little bit cramped. But why I didn't go for an X5? That's a really good question. So, see how much cargo space you get in the back?
Yeah, tons of cargo space.
You don't get that with the X5. The X5 kind of comes to like right here.
Right.
So this really wins on cargo. There was also a third row seat option, but once you go to third row seat, you're done. You have no cargo. But we have a third row seat in the LR4, so I didn't need it here. So I think it was just kind of like a nice, two cars. Both of them can fit the family. One of them has a third row seat if we ever need it. We rarely even use it. I think we use it like once.
Right.
Maybe twice. So, that's what factored. I mean, would I have been happy with an X5? I probably would have been happy with the X5, but it's a Range Rover too. I mean,
Yeah.
something to be said for that. The fact that you can take it off road. I don't know if you caught it, and maybe we can shoot this later, but the car articulates up and down.
Yeah, guys, so it's actually really cool. This car can go from like this lowered stance to maybe the fender line will kind of come up to like right there, and you'll get a nice amount of spacing so you can, take it off-road if you want.
This right now, it's at the access height.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy for people to get in and out of the car. Then the kind of, second level is the driving height, and that's when you see it on the road. When you're on the highway, it's a nice, very comfortable ride. And then you have the, if you raise it up, you're really going off road. It gives you that extra clearance so that you can navigate through, treacherous terrain. And I love that. I mean, the fact that we can take it off road. We've done it a few times. With the LR4, not so much with this one because this one's got the low profile, and you got to be careful when you take it off road.
Yeah, you got those nice wheels. You can't hurt them.
I mean, I would take it off road. There's been times where you go upstate, kind of Connecticut, up North Connecticut. There's some windy, kind of rocky roads, gravel roads. You put in gravel mode, and it just rips through it. It's a great all-around vehicle. I'm not thinking that there's a zombie apocalypse coming, but if a zombie apocalypse ever comes, I'm ready for it.
So, have you ever had, I know you mentioned you personally never had any issues, but, a lot of people hear these horror stories of these Range Rovers, with the motors going. I know one of my buddies, he works for a dealership. His uncle owns a dealership, and they've had, 3 Range Rovers before, and all of them shit the bed and kind of came back within the first month of someone buying them. So have you ever had anything like that with this one?
There was a long, storied history of problems with the Land Rover. Old Land Rovers definitely had some problems. It gave it a bad name, particularly in the U.S. when it comes to reliability. I did my research. So I'm going to say about 8-10 years ago, Tata, which is an Indian conglomerate, bought the Land Rover brand, and they invested billions and billions of dollars into modernizing their manufacturing techniques. And the way it works today, a lot of people don't know this, but when these cars are engineered and they go through the manufacturing process, they're sticking to standards. So the difference between the manufacturing standard between a Land Rover today and a BMW is no different. The factories look the same. The robots that are building these vehicles are calibrated the same. That's the kind of engineering, investment that Tata put into it. It's no different than the investment that BMW made around the same kind of time frame. So when you're buying these kind of cars today, I don't know about Lexus, I don't know about the Japanese brands.
Right.
When you buy, and these standards are generally jurisdictional, so they're American standards or European standards. But when you're buying these cars today, what you're really buying into is the engineering kind of standard, which is also going to be different from exotic cars and sports cars that have a different standard.
Right.
There's some really interesting videos on YouTube where they go into like the F1 racing and how they engineer even a bolt and the amount of engineering R&D effort that goes into a single bolt, and then you can extrapolate how much engineering goes into the rest of the vehicle.
Right.
And it really, it boggles the mind. They have much tighter tolerances and precision requirements for that kind of car than a car like this that's going to be used, in its, in this kind of an application, which is everyday use. get you around. This car is designed to meet most of those requirements in a very safe way. It's designed to, or I should say, all the requirements. It needs to meet all those requirements for the application for the market it's being sold into. So that's the way I viewed it. And if you look at it that way, what you're really buying is you're paying for the car, and then you're paying a little bit of premium for the brand. Just kind of the badge. And but what you're really buying into is that engineering, that engineering investment.
Okay.
So to answer that question in a more simpler way, I'm not going to see any quality difference between this and the BMW, and I never did. That's
Gotcha.
because of the, what has occurred in the automotive industry over the past 10 years or so.
Gotcha. Yeah, like you mentioned, with the X5, it has that smaller cargo space, but in terms of like quality leather, quality interior, I didn't see a difference. I've actually worked with X5s for BMW Bridgeport, so I had the opportunity to sit in them, play around with them, so I personally didn't see any differences there, which was nice.
See a nice soft leather in
But
here.
yeah, this has the soft leather. A lot of these higher end car companies, have these similar interiors, but different in a sense. So,
And if you're into that kind of thing, what you can do is also get custom designs on here too. They have some British flag designs. There's the Velar that comes with, I think it comes stock with a different kind of design. Just adds some character to the car.
right.
Some people like that. I'll take it, but I'm not going to pay for it.
Like anybody else would. So, I was telling them, and you kind of explain, if you ever decided to get rid of this car, what would you go for next? If I know you enjoyed this car, but if it came down to it and you ever wanted to or had the ability to get rid of it for something nicer, what would you go with?
So I'm not really motivated by nice. Just where I am in my life and where my kids are. What are they going to enjoy? I got to start thinking about them too. And I could go into actually, maybe a Range Rover. So I'm looking at that. I like Tesla. I really like what Tesla's doing, and I like to support electric car companies.
Yep.
So I might go into. If I go into Tesla, that's probably going to be for me. And then what I'll do is either we'll stick to the LR4 for the family, or I'll get like a Defender or something.
Yeah, something cool.
Something newer
Yeah.
that can carry everybody. Maybe not as high tech and with all this feature set here,
Right.
but still kind of meets the basic application. The other option, I really, really love what I'm seeing with the Bronco. The Bronco is something fantastic.
Yeah, I actually just saw this past Friday. I was at BMW Bridgeport, and across the street they had the Bronco Sport Outer Banks edition, and I got to see it in person. And man, let me tell you, that was a really cool car to see in person. They said the Sport is the smaller version of the couple different variations they have.
It just looks like a really fun car. It's got the off-road capability.
Yep.
And I think it would be. I'm definitely going to check it out. And I'm going to see where my kind of heart and mind is at the time.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the Mustang Mach-E, the all-electric Mustang?
I've got to check it out. I'll be honest with you. I haven't done my research there.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically an electric SUV Mustang, which is just a crazy concept to think about to begin with. But some of these numbers that they can put out, over 400 foot-pounds of torque, a couple hundred, 300-400 horsepower.
Is it off-roading kind of SUV?
It could be, if you want it to be. But
does it have high clearance?
It looked like it. Yeah, I saw it in person. If I remember correctly, it had a decent amount of height clearance, and that leather, let me tell you, Range Rovers and BMWs are comfortable,
yeah.
But the Mach-E had cloud seats. It was like sitting on a cloud, I'm telling you.
Really?
So if you ever have the opportunity to check out a Mach-E, I recommend
it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it based on your recommendation.
Yeah, and they started out at I think they start out at like 30, 38, 40 grand.
Okay.
And they can range up to 60, 70 depending on options and whatnot. But
that sounds compelling.
You should definitely check it out if you want an American car, but
There's always been a little place in my heart for a Mustang, for sure. I never had one. I had a very good friend of mine who got a Mustang, souped it up. He put a new engine in it. I think it had like a V6 engine. He put a V8 on it. It was screaming.
Yeah.
But he forgot to do stuff with the brakes, and he was on the Grand Central Parkway, and he floored it, and he just went out of control. Started spinning, just went crazy, and just knocked into it. So I always was like, okay, maybe a Mustang, but it was his own kind of folly kind of work. But, I wouldn't do that. If you notice, this car is absolutely completely stock. All my cars are stock.
Yep.
I like it stock. I also like to get, and I'm, Doug DeMuro on YouTube, if anyone knows Doug DeMuro.
Yeah, Doug DeMuro.
He's the man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He said something the other day on one of his videos where he said, and it resonated with me, he always buys the color that they use in the promo shots. And I said, you know what, maybe maybe I should consider doing that as well.
So, we talked about why you got this Range Rover, how you like it, if you've had any issues. So now let's talk about, because you're a pretty young guy. So let's talk about, how you were able to afford something as nice as this with a nice house, a couple other cars at such a presumably young age.
Relatively young, yeah.
So, go into that.
One answer. Just one answer. Education. And education based on first principles. And in other words, you have to learn things on your own. You have to go really through. When you learn something, you really have to learn deeply about it. You really got to understand everything about it. When I say understand everything about it, you talk about, the history of whatever the subject matter is, the sociology, the economics of whatever the subject is. And really, once you have a really good understanding, leave no stone unturned. It's easy decisions, right? At that point. So that's basically my advice. Whatever I've ever got myself involved in, I have this kind of passion and this personality where I really need to. I'm very risk averse, so I am very conservative too. I don't part ways with my money very easily, so I need to be able to, in order for me to protect myself, the one asset that I have is the ability to educate myself, and everyone has that asset. That's a gift. So if you're able to educate yourself, you're able to protect yourself from financial loss, and also position yourself for financial gain when the opportunities arise. So education is it, and education never ends. Education is a lifelong pursuit.
Right.
The world is constantly changing. You're constantly changing. Your mind is constantly changing. But education is something that once you learn how to learn, it's you have exponential power at your fingertips. So that's the way I would put it. I would learn about the history of the internet, about why the internet has become so successful. I would learn about things like cryptography, game theory, distributed systems. I would learn about these concepts because as we're moving into a world where we're going to be dominated by AI and machine learning. Computers are going to start to code themselves, and it's very important to understand what the implications of that are going to be and how to position yourself for a world where that is the reality. 5G networks are rolling out right now. It's 2020 when you record this. So 5G networks are rolling out right now. We're seeing a rise in autonomous driving. We're seeing a rise in cryptocurrency. And right now we're just setting ourselves up for an incredible decade of incredible growth throughout all the markets, but also incredible decline in some markets too. And the more you can educate yourself about some of these topics, I think you're definitely going to be positioning yourself for success over the next decade. And the pursuit of those topics today, it also positions you for success for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's understanding how the world works and understanding why things happen the way they do, and understanding how different, when we talk about this car, I got into a little bit of the engineering about it, and that's one of the first principles saying, why does Range Rover want to engineer a car like this for their market? They don't want to leave anybody stranded on the road or ruin their brand. They thought that it was incredibly important to invest in manufacturing processes where they can have consistency in the final result, and it paid off in dividends back to them. And that's something that gave me the confidence to buy it. I didn't have any risks. I was able to manage the risks associated with the purchase. And everything is about education. It's about really getting down deep into, why why things are the way they are, and hopefully through that pursuit you can make more informed decisions about yourself, and those decisions lead to, gain. Now, if you're doing it for gain's sake, you're gonna end up making shortcuts. You're gonna end up making mistakes. Start small, incrementally. There's this concept in coding called MVP. Minimum viable product. And the whole idea is you develop a product, you put it into the market, you get feedback, and then you iterate on a product. A lot of people make the mistake that they have to learn everything before they get started. That's a critical mistake to make. The best way to do anything is to try it, make the mistakes, manage your risk in the mistakes, don't be too overexposed so you don't get wiped out. Learn over time, iterate over time, slowly build the skin that's going to protect you as you navigate your way through, not only When we're talking about assets, not only whatever happened to that asset, but also the market conditions that could affect that asset, and how you think about those kind of things enable you to better manage your risk.
Yeah, so an example of, learning, starting small, earlier this year, I was kind of trying to dabble in with the stock market, just kind of playing around with it. I put in only $200-300, something that I wouldn't have to care too much to lose if I lost it all. And, that gave me a great learning experience. I lost a good amount, but, it gave me a good learning experience. So now this time around, I have a lot more money to play with, about $10,000 now to play with in the stock market. And we were talking about this the other day. I did that research I needed to do, and I didn't learn everything all at once, but I learned enough kind of to make my smart moves. And then eventually, from that, I'll keep building my education and learning.
Exactly.
Because, you can't get anywhere in life without education. So a lot of these people, even myself, I always wonder, how did this young person get into real estate? How did this young person invest his money? How did all these young people get their money? And ultimately, it comes down to educating yourself.
That's a really good point. And also, one really important point is you can't necessarily buy an education.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a good education, but you can't buy what's in your mind. What's in your mind is what you're learning as you're moving through the world.
Exactly.
And you can also, I see people sometimes, they use their education as a crutch. I graduated from a very nice school, and what they're, you just be careful if you're doing that, to understand other perspectives and understand that other people could have a education based on their experiences and based on what their life, how they moved through the world, and education is constant through people and through time. It's not, it's not something that is exclusive to, college graduates or master's degree graduates. Everyone, including the person that's picking fruits, has the ability to have the same level of education through their own learned experience and through their own understanding of the world. Not same, it's obviously going to be different, but it shouldn't be seen as something lesser. It should be seen as just purely different.
Right.
I think that's a very important point.
Yeah, so, for these people, there's a lot of great resources, even online. You could go to a library, find these books, and just start reading. You don't necessarily have to pay, thousands of dollars to learn about whatever you want to learn. You can find all these great resources online for free. YouTube's one great resource. We were talking about that. We both watch certain YouTube videos. And then once you watch enough, you learn how to pick out the people who know what they're talking about versus kind of, let's call them the fakers. And, but yeah, you make a great point. You can't buy what's already in your mind, and you can't necessarily buy your own mindset. So if you're goal oriented and you're ready to put in the work, you could achieve great things at young ages.
Go out and learn. It's free to learn these days. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet the way we did today. We had something called BBSs, bulletin board services, and basically people in their home had PC towers with modems in it, phone lines coming in, and that was pre-internet. That's how we would communicate with each other, and we would upload things to each other, download things to each other, have conversations. It was way smaller scale than what we have now, where literally you can go on social media, you can go on Twitter, and you can see the brightest minds in the world share their knowledge for free. It's
exactly.
Incredible. And the second and third order effects of that, it's just we see it right now. We see it happening right now. We're able to transact with each other in ways that were unfathomable back when we had BBSs.
Mm-hmm.
And this new information that's coming online every day, these new experiences, these new thoughts, if you start getting involved and you start to harness some of that, it will change who you are as a person, and only for the better. And if you're not a good person, it's probably going to change you for the worse. So come to it with goodness, come to it with love, come to it with an open heart, and share your experiences and embrace other people's experiences, and only good can come from that.
Exactly. Yeah, so all right, guys, I thought that was a great conversation. If you guys have any other questions, for my friend here, Omar, throw them in the comments down below, and I'll absolutely make another video. If you want more videos like this, comment down below. He's actually going to be starting his own YouTube channel soon, So once he starts that, we'll make another video with him, and he'll kind of explain, I know he's going to be doing Bitcoin education and crypto education. So I definitely recommend, if you guys want to learn about that type of stuff, once he sets up his YouTube channel, hopefully within the next week or two, go follow him to learn even more than I could ever explain about Bitcoin, because that stuff is absolutely next level smart stuff. So yeah, if you guys like this video, comment, subscribe, share, do your thing, and thanks a lot.